Hey, so today we're going to be talking about a huge debate within the motorcycle community. It's a super hard topic for me because when I first got around to posting content on social media, I made a huge mistake of posting content of me splitting lanes. So the comment section in that reel took me out. I received so much hate, and to be honest, it's a big reason why I felt hesitant to post this video today. However, if putting myself out there as a target for hate meant that it would help just one person be a little bit more understanding as to the reasons behind why we lane split, well, I'm gonna do it. In this video, we're gonna be going over lane splitting, lane filtering, what they are, what the differences between the two are, and the common misconceptions of lane splitting altogether, and then the reasons behind why we lane split. And then lastly, we'll go over a little bit of tips and tricks I've learned along the way to either help you get started and or gain more experience in the skill of splitting lanes. Hopefully by the end of this video, you can let me know in the comments what your thoughts were coming into this video and if your outlook on lane splitting changed at all. Just remember that no matter your opinion, just understand that not everyone shares the same outlook. Let's just try to all be respectful and keep it aloha. With that being said, let's get started. Lane splitting and lane filtering in a nutshell is the act of a motorcyclist advancing through slow or stopped traffic by riding between two lanes traveling in the same direction. Though the terms are often used interchangeably, the main difference between the two is that lane splitting occurs while traffic is moving, and then lane filtering occurs when traffic is at a standstill, so usually at a stop sign or stoplights, right? One of the biggest things that I didn't want to touch bases on is the legality of splitting versus filtering. I don't claim to be an expert. In fact, I'm almost positive there are still things that I have yet to learn on the matter. Moreover, the laws vary greatly depending on where you're riding. So without going into too much detail, I'll just say know the law where you're riding prior to attempting to lane filter and or lane split. Going back to the comment section of the reel that I had mentioned earlier in this video, it made me realize that there is definitely misconceptions and a negative stereotype out there regarding lane splitters. Lane splitting is definitely viewed differently depending on where you live. So with that being said, where I live in Northern California, it's more common than not to see motorcyclists splitting lanes. But not only that, it is extremely common to see other vehicles share the road and move to the outside of their lane to provide the motorcyclists with more room in the split lane. Now, just for fun, I'd like for you to pause the video, take a moment really quick to comment down below and tell me where you're from and what the common view is where you live regarding lane splitting. I'm sure it's going to vary completely, so I can't wait to see. Alright, so now that I have you back, one of the common misconceptions I've heard is that those of us who lane split are rude individuals who care little regarding common courtesy because of our quote-unquote cutting in line. So I did want to touch a little bit on the cutting in line theory because it's not something that makes sense to me. You're more than welcome to explain it in the comments. I'm very open and, I'd love to hear it. But cutting in line in, say, a grocery store results in inconveniencing others behind you because they now have to wait an additional amount of time before they get served. However, when a motorcyclist is lane splitting, there is no inconvenience. The fact of the matter is that a driver is getting from point A to point B in the same amount of time it would take regardless of whether or not the motorcyclist is present. And that's because any motorcycle is going to have a faster launch than a vehicle at the front of the line. Except for Teslas, I feel like Teslas have a pretty quick launch, right? Now, I want to touch in on the RUD factor because I'm hoping that once an individual understands the safety behind lane splitting, that can then assist in doing away with the entire concept of lane splitters being rude. So let's get into the why. The first and foremost reason behind lane splitting is going to be safety. Lane splitting reduces the opportunities for motorcyclists to be rear-ended in stop-and-go traffic, and that is huge considering the amount of distracted drivers occupying the road nowadays. In my reels that I've posted alone, I've seen everything from people on their phones to a person actually having their whole laptop out in their lap working while they're in the driver's seat. It's insane. So now it is very true that driving around distracted drivers is a danger altogether. This is a huge reason why I choose to trust my judgment over theirs. So when a motorcyclist chooses not to split lanes, they're placing all of their trust in the driver behind them. So they're hoping that this driver isn't driving distracted. Now, when a motorcyclist splits lanes, they're placing their trust and their own ability to pay attention to their surroundings and react appropriately. Now, outside of safety, there's a lot of other reasons why we split. For example, I ride a Harley Davidson and it's an air-cooled bike. I live in Northern California where the temperatures can reach triple digits and often stay around 80 to 100 degrees in the summer. So having my motorcycle sitting in traffic will land me on the shoulder with an overheated bike in no time. Splitting helps that. Not to mention, it does help, albeit minimally, with traffic congestion, because so long as a motorcyclist is splitting lanes, they're not occupying more space in gridlock traffic. And then lastly, and the most obvious, is it does cut down on travel time, especially when one travels in heavy traffic. So I'm sure there are plenty of other reasons to split lanes, and feel free to share whatever I've left out in the comment section as well. Now, for the splitting tips and tricks and recommendations that I've learned along the way. First things first, new riders should refrain from splitting lanes and focus more on learning to control their bikes. The stop and go traffic can benefit you in helping you learn and master the clutch control and friction zone. So just make sure to pay attention to the rear view mirrors and know your exit routes when staying in traffic. Once you're comfortable on the bike, I would recommend beginning with lane filtering first at city stoplights where vehicles are at a stop. And then you can progress into lane splitting the more and more you feel comfortable. While there are no laws to where a motorcyclist should split, the CHP does recommend splitting lanes between lanes 1 and 2, the furthest left lanes. These two lanes are where the least amount of merging happens, but bear in mind it is also the fast lanes on the freeway. And so when splitting, the greater the speed of travel, the greater the danger. There's also no set speed limit to lane splitting, but it is also recommended that motorcyclists do not travel more than 10 miles per hour faster than the flow of traffic, and no splitting when the flow of traffic is at 40 miles per hour or faster. So know your surroundings. I can't stress this enough. Things can happen at a split second, so try not to remain in a vehicle's blind spot for too long. Look out for road debris and any road hazards that can cause other vehicles to suddenly swerve into your split lane, and then be ready to react at a moment's notice. I like to look at the side mirrors and make eye contact with the drivers ahead of me so that I know that they see me. Also, know the expectations of the road. So for example, during my commute to work, there's a stretch in the freeway where two freeways merge together and vehicles are constantly merging in and out of lanes. Never split during these times. Moreover, I'd like to keep a peripheral vision on a vehicle's front tires. Any shift to the front tire will tell you where the vehicle is headed. Paying attention to this tiny detail will give you a heads up if a tight squeeze is approaching or not. Also, be visible. I can't stress this enough. Ride the white line with your hazards on, throw on those high beams, just be visible, because a lot of accidents happen because drivers don't see motorcyclists. Now that we have being visible down, also be heard. That's always going to help. So during stopped or gridlock traffic, I like to rev the motor just a little bit. Drivers will hear me before they see me, and music will help too. So that's an additional tip. Don't ever split lanes next to oversized vehicles. And then also, when drivers make room and there's an opportunity for you to show appreciation by a quick wave, or my favorite, a little shaka, do it. It changes the misconception that's out there of motorcycle riders. Well, there you have it. A crash course into lane splitting and why we do it. Again, your opinions regarding the matter might be different than mine, and that's okay. I'm just hoping that this reaches at least one person who didn't see the benefits and safety behind lane splitting before this video and now have a change of heart. But other than that, I think we'll wrap it up here. I can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Remember, ride safe and keep it aloha. Until next time, okay?